Hello, this is Catherine Lamb-Hansard here. In this video, we're going to combine demand and supply together. The point where they intersect is called equilibrium or market equilibrium. Equilibrium is a situation in which the market price has reached a level where quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. Let's take a closer look. Here is the market for gasoline. The intersection of the supply and demand curve will give you the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. Equilibrium price is the price where quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. In this case, the equilibrium price is $3 and the equilibrium quantity is 15. What happens if the market is not in equilibrium? What happens if the market price is higher than the equilibrium price? Suppose the market price is $5. Then the quantity demanded for gasoline is 9 and the quantity supplied is 25, resulting in a surplus of 16 gasoline. So when the market price is above the equilibrium, we have a surplus or excess supply, where quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. Facing a surplus, sellers would try to increase sales by cutting the price, say reducing the price from $5 to $4. This will cause quantity demanded to rise and quantity supplied to fall, which reduces the surplus. Prices will continue to fall until market reaches equilibrium. In other words, sellers will respond to the surplus by cutting prices until the price reaches equilibrium price. Suppose the market price is below the equilibrium. Say the price is $1. Then quantity demanded is 21 gasoline and quantity supplied is 5, resulting a shortage of 16 gasoline. This shortage is also known as excess demand, where quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. Facing a shortage of supplies, sellers raise the price, say to $2, causing quantity demanded to fall and quantity supplied to rise, which reduces the shortage. Prices continue to rise until market reaches equilibrium. Let's look at how an event can affect the equilibrium price and quantity. It might be an event that affects demand, like a change in the number of buyers, income, and taste. It might be an event that affects supply, such as input prices, natural disasters, and government policies, the factors that we looked at in the previous videos. How does these events affect the market equilibrium? To analyze the effects, we use the 4-step process. Step 1, draw a demand and supply before the event took place. Decide whether the event shifts the supply curve, the demand curve, or in some cases, both curves. Decide whether the curve shifts to the left or to the right. And finally, use the supply and demand diagram to compare the initial and the new equilibrium and the effects on equilibrium price and quantity. Let's look at the market for pizza. You have the price of pizza on the vertical axis and the quantity of pizza on the horizontal axis. We draw the downward sloping demand curve and an upward sloping supply curve. The point of intersection is the equilibrium price and quantity. Suppose there is an increase in the price of burgers. First, draw the supply and demand before the event, then decide whether the event affects the demand or supply curve. In this case, it shifts the demand curve because price of burgers affects demand for pizza. It doesn't shift the supply curve because the price of burgers does not affect cost of producing pizza. Next, decide whether the curve shifts to the left or to the right. In this example, demand shifts to the right because high burger price makes pizza more attractive relative to burgers. Finally, compare the initial and the new equilibrium. The shift causes an increase in the price and quantity of pizza. Let's look at another event. Suppose price of flour falls. Flour is an input to making pizza. Step 1, we draw the supply and demand. Step 2, decide whether the event affects the supply or demand. Supply curve shifts because the event affects the cost of production. It does not affect the demand curve because input price is not one of the factors that affect demand. Step 3, supply shifts to the right because the event reduces costs. It makes production more profitable at any given price. Finally, compare the initial and the new equilibrium. The shift causes price to fall and quantity to rise. Now, what happens if there is a shift in both the supply and demand curve? Say the price of burgers rises and the cost of flour falls. We're going to go through the same steps. Step 1, draw the supply and demand. Step 2, both curves shift, and both curves shift to the right. So I'm going to draw demand shifting to the right and supply shifting to the right. Finally, let's look at the old equilibrium and new equilibrium. Quantity rises, but the effect on price is ambiguous. The effect on price depends on the magnitude of the shift. In this case, demand increases more than supply, so the equilibrium price rises. Suppose supply increases more than demand, then the equilibrium price will fall. Let's redraw the graph with the supply having a bigger shift compared to the demand curve. So here's the big shift in supply curve and a smaller shift in the demand curve. What you see here is that quantity rises, but the effect on price falls. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.